What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into like 3 different things this video, as I typically do. First, to start off, they say you learn a page from a win and a book from a loss. Based off of today, I hope I learned the mosaic because today was pretty rough, and that's one of the things I want to go into, my system, and I'll be going into that in a few. And the reason I made this, I didn't make it. I mean, it's a martingale that I did take a variation of, and I added a lot of intricacies to it. But for the most part, it's the reason I use the system the way I do. It turns bloodbaths into mitigable days, and days that we can definitely minimize our losses. So anyway, I wanted to go into a few things. The first thing I noticed is for the first time in quite a while, if you look through the results, because obviously I don't pick on who I think is the better team, so I pick just based off of fading the public narratives, things like that. If you look at these results, this is exactly what should happen in almost every game. Maybe about 2 or 3 outliers. For the most part, if you're picking based off of who should win, if you pick this week like just the better teams, you did amazing. And that's really rare. Like, I know it sounds like, well, duh, but like, it just doesn't happen. You know, they always, obviously, I wouldn't have a channel. We wouldn't be, as well as we've done if it was just, the better team wins. Now, I don't think it's going to keep up. I just thought it was, even the Rams Seahawks. This is last year they just, people just decided to jump on board that, yeah, the Rams, They won the Super Bowl, but they're not the same. They had all the same players. And I think an additional with Bobby Wagner. I don't think they had him the year before. They might have. But it's just pretty... I thought it was interesting, And even when, their Cup got injured, I get it. But still, this was a great defense, a good team. Still had Stafford, all their guys. And they were just trash last year, went unquestioned. And then the Seahawks doing well went unquestioned. So... this is essentially, if you're looking at the teams on paper and how they performed, what you'd expect. So I found that interesting, especially because that is right after the NFL went out of their way to make a commercial mocking people for saying it's scripted. So I do think there's a good chance that week 1 was pretty, quote, realistic, where we didn't see a bunch of these traps. And I think I was suckered because I went into this in my last video. I watched First Things First, and I said it was kind of peculiar. The first time ever that I noticed an analyst talking about, I'm picking the Patriots because the line doesn't make sense. That was his reason. The Steelers, it seems like a sucker's bet, but the Steelers, they'll still come out of nowhere. Well, they all these teams, even the Patriots, they made a late run, but they all got blown out. So I do wonder if that was some kind of, not a trap, but just to kind of set the narrative. Now, anybody that might, for the first time, might be questioning it, looks at this and says, okay, no way. If that's the case, the Steelers would have won. All these other teams would have won. I just find it very interesting. So I don't think that's going to keep up. But I want to get into a couple other interesting. One thing is downright code breaking, and I'm going to get into that in a second. It involves these games. So we lost our first leg 3 here, and I'm going to get back to this in a second with the Giants. It's still in play, but I never like to throw the towel in early, but by the first quarter, I could just see where this was headed. And there's a reason that on this one, I accepted defeat so quickly, and I'll go into that in 1 second as well. Now, as you can see, this was a 7-unit loss, which is 150 for me because I do 25, 50, 100. So, there we go. It's 175. So anyway, the reason I do this system, and I close this, by the way. So I closed it because if we chase it again, now if we lose, it's 15 units. Okay. So it's rough. It's never fun to lose 7 units. But if you look at the ones that we've closed 8. Now, one of those, again, was a leg 3 on the Lions. So it paid a net of 4 units, about $104 net on that one. So that one and a couple others basically negate this 3-leg loss. Again, a 3-leg loss is never fun, but again, if we just picked straight up, we'd be in the red right now. But instead, we're slightly in the green with 8-10 overall, 8-1 on our sequences, simply for the fact, again, we got the Lions on a leg 3, which with this system, you're going to get better value. And we only have the 1 leg 3 loss. And we only, again, for every 7 wins, we can lose a leg 3. Not that it's fun, but that's just how the value works. So, again, that's the reason I use the system. I like to show people this because even on really, really bad days, and sometimes it's it might not be 1 week, it might be 2 weeks in a row, we will still always, the numbers bear out in the end, and we close more than the 7. Usually we close about 10 to 15 for every 3-legged loss, so we're going to pick up anywhere from 3 to 5 units each time that happens, and it just slowly builds up. So we were over 10 units net, and now it's at 4 units. Now, we do have a couple games still that haven't been decided yet. We have a couple sequences. Steelers on Niners is heading to a leg 3, which is going to be tomorrow's game, the Jets game. I already went over that video. Obviously, a lot has changed, things I wasn't expecting this week, so I'm going to go into that a little more. But that'll be a leg 3, and then a couple leg 1 losses that we still have outstanding. Alabama was a couple days ago, yesterday, sorry. But anyway, something I found really interesting now that, I think I covered the system pretty well for the people that were asking exactly how it works. This is how it works. So, again, we don't have to hit at a 60% clip, and we can even lose ones that aren't fun like this one here. We're still going to, more often than not, for the most part, when we split our leg 2s and then even do 50% on the plays in general, be in the net. So right now, even after that rough performance, it didn't knock us into the red overall, which is nice because, again, if we had just been picking straight up or honestly any other type of way, we would definitely be in the red without using this system. So now, what I want to go into is just a ridiculous pattern, and it can't be a coincidence. So, this pattern was so concrete. It was brought to my attention by Phoenix, so thank you, Phoenix, because I honestly, using this, we might be able to really determine some future outcomes. The pattern I noticed, it was so much I blindly put way more than I would normally put on a live bet on the San Francisco Giants when they were down 0-3 because of this ridiculous commonality. So Dion Sanders, he's been all over the news, and again, Phoenix brought this to my attention, this commonality, and good job doing your due diligence because I don't think many people would think to go as deep as you, just not even deep, but just kind of notice it's not just football. But anyway, Deion's all over the news. Obviously, Colorado just won. Now, that's interesting. That's fine. Nothing crazy about that. Colorado won. Well, another team that won was Florida State, the team he played for in college. Okay, so Florida State won also. Now, he played for 5 teams in the NFL. Okay, he played for the Ravens. They won. He played for the 49ers. They won. He played for the Redskins. The Commanders won. He played for the Cowboys. I think we see where that one's going. I just think this is absolutely outstanding. I've never seen anything like this. And who's the last team he played for? They're in here somewhere. The Falcons. They won. Okay, Falcons, Ravens, 49ers, Cowboys, Redskins, all won. Now, maybe that's a coincidence, right? Let's go to baseball. Who did he play for? He played for the Reds. They won. He played for the Braves. They won. He played for the Yankees. They won. He played for the Giants, and they won. To me, this is absolutely code-breaking, as I said. This cannot be a coincidence. I could understand a few teams, but I thought it was interesting. Just to put this in perspective, I went as far back. I'm being serious. I tried to go back to this man's Pee-wee soccer era because it was just insane. I'm like, anything this guy's touched, these teams won this week. So I was able to go as far back as Texas Christian, which was his not TCU, but it was a high school, and they had won the last time they played, which was like a week and a half ago. But Jackson State won. It was just I just thought it was absolutely insane. So yeah, the Giants play the San Francisco Giants with the absolute last one left. They were down 0-3, and Phoenix brought this to my attention. Again, I just thought it was absolutely outstanding. So you guys can let me know what you think. I could understand a couple, but you have to understand these are a couple of these teams were favorites. A lot of these were 50-50 games, and some were underdogs, and every single one of them won. So at this point, there has to be some kind of connection. So to be able to connect Deion with what's going on. So there's definitely, you can look at maybe the Braves do something in baseball this year. I'm not sure. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm going to be spending hours tonight. Screw the talking heads. Screw everything else. I'm just watching Deion and listen. I'm going to be glued to every single word he said, because there's just no way this can all be a coincidence. And as I was saying, I had noticed something that I thought was just a very small commonality when Colorado won. Alabama played Texas after, and as you know, I had Bama covering. And then I saw Texas had a Deion Sanders on their team, and I was like, ooh, I'm not liking this, because right on the screen it said college prime time. So I'm like, I see prime, I see Deion Sanders, and I'm like, what are the odds, So, and they won, and he actually had a heck of a game. So I'm not saying that's related, but when I'm aligned with other people and we kind of come to the same idea without even talking about it, only Phoenix's was so much more obviously concrete here. Mine was just a guy with the same name. It said Prime, so I thought it might have been a clue. But, you're talking 11 teams that all won. Every team he's ever been associated with won in the same weekend. And it's he's the guy that's taken the news completely by storm. So, unfortunately, I could not find anything for Deion as far as the Bills-Jets. I wish I could. You could say, oh, well, he coached. He coaches the Buffaloes. So, that's the kind of stuff where I don't want to go too deep into the rabbit hole. I will say I'm a little worried because he did throw a little bit of criticism Aaron Rodgers' way 3 years ago. And to me, that's like a death sentence after seeing apparently what power Deion has. I don't know what it is, but some big things are going to come from Dion Sanders, and things that he says, people he talks to, people he endorses, I have no doubt are all going to be just designated completely for success. That being said, there was nothing, like I said, I could find about the Jets or Bills, really, with Deion. Even the thing he said about Rodgers was back when he was on the Packers, and he said stuff about Buffalo as well, obviously, as an analyst. I still do like the Jets to win. It's 9-11, and I'll go more into that one, Like I said, there's a lot of symbolism there. It's very interesting. The reason I think this is a very symbolic game is obviously because it's on 9/11. But if you think about what happened on 9/11, it was jets that collapsed the World Trade Center, or at least that's the story. So we'll go with the story. The jets, collapsed the World Trade Center, which is a building that has a lot of reserves in it. Reserves is another term for money. And I find it very interesting because, or even the Fed is known as the safety reserve. A reserve safety for the Buffalo Bills was injured. He collapsed. So I do find that correlation interesting. And the name of the Buffalo is the Buffalo Bills. So I think collapse of the dollar, World Trade Center, and the Jets are literally who collapsed that. So again, the towers were, collapsed as a result of the Jets. And then the safety reserve, DeMar Hamlin, he was collapsed courtesy of T. Higgins. So I find the whole thing very, very interesting. And just the commonality that it happens to fall on 9/11. And it just happens to be the New York Jets, and the other team's the Bill. And I've had a lot of people bring up to me the fall of the dollar and things of that nature. And in other sports, that's why a lot of people like the Nuggets. If you notice, the Nuggets and the Golden Knights both won. So I do think that they have that kind of symbolism in there. So I still do like the Jets. I actually like them even more now because, as you know, I went over this in my last video, but I still thought it was enough. I thought the U.S. Open and other things were enough reason, the public, to go with the Giants. I didn't know about Deion. It was commented on that video. Had I known that, that's such a revelation. I think we can do so much with that. But I still like the Jets. I like them, like I said, a little more now because of the fact that the Giants lost. So often they'll have the team split. So it's not guaranteed, but I do think it's more likely. So I like the Jets here to win. And again, this is one where the public's probably going to be 50-50 on this one anyway. I can't imagine it's going to be that much either. There's a lot of hype on the Jets, and you have to account for emotional betting. There are people that just, they bet with their hearts. It just happens. So you might have that. But for the most part, people want to make money. And I can't see the Bills getting faded too hard. So this one is slightly plus odds. It's plus 110. So nothing crazy. I mean, you're just basically beating juice. I don't usually go out of my way to do a plus if it's not really more than 120. But that's the exact odds, is plus 110. So that's going to be a leg 3 for tomorrow. I figured I would just go ahead and reiterate that just in case anyone wasn't sure. Because at first I was just playing it, but as games go on, then some games become leg 2s, leg 3s, etc. So I am making the Jets beating the Bills a leg 3 for the Patriots. And like I said, that's the whole reason I made this system. If you look at, basically a split between the Jets Giants is a profit, and usually if you split 2 games, you're not going to profit. So that's the reason I made this system. I bring it up because if you don't use incredible discipline, then it's just very, very easy to not profit. The smallest amount of, like I said, like if someone was to chase this and do a leg 4, now you're 15 units in the hole. It's hard to come back from that. You got to win 15 sequences or, less, but at plus odds to get that back. Meanwhile, 7's not that tough. So there's a reason I do the system the way I do. If you have watched my channel, then this is by far not the worst day we've had. We've had days where we've played the entire schedule, and we've hit like 3 or 4. In typical story of my life fashion, I either get a game down to the final points and the winner of the coin flip and who they're going to shove in the crowd, or I'm so laughably wrong people wonder how I have a channel. It's really usually not a happy medium. Luckily, the system balances all that out anyway. So red days are not fun. But I look at it, it's about the sequences. You got to close the sequences, and, Patriots didn't cover, that sucks, but Jets come through, we won the sequence. That's what matters, plus 1. So the goal is to net 1 on every sequence. And like I said, we're around 4 units profit. I do on my we did a little better. Again, every single pick that I make, I put on the Buy Me a Coffee. There's some that come late. So like the Jags Jokovic parlay came to me. It was a little bit after I did my last video going into Jokovic and going into the Sunday games. And there was just one where they were getting even odds, so I threw that in there. Packers, there's a few. So this is the bare minimum here, but again, just in general, I always try and post everything I can. The only ones that I just can't, if I can't get a video at like 4:30 in the morning or something because it popped in my head for a second, I throw it in my Discord too. So like the Giants play, the San Francisco, I was able to get in the Discord, and even that, because they were down 0-3, got it in there, and within like 5 minutes, it was a 5-3 game. So even live, it's really hard to get every pick out there. I try my best though. But yeah, like I said, today was not a great day. It was a horrible day. I'm not going to mince words. It was a really bad day. But again, for me, I got to a point where I did watch a couple of these games because it's week 1. I was more concerned with Jokovic because that one I did have a good bit to gain because I got in on him early and got a little bit more on him, had him in a parlay with Coco. So that one was more important for me personally. So I was watching that one. But even those, like, no matter how important a game is, I don't even have to really watch them anymore. I did watch the Giants. That was just one of the most laughable performances I've ever seen. From the blocked kick, that's when I read the post from Phoenix about Deion's teams. And at the same time, I'm like, this is not going to be good for the Giants. And I actually predicted 41-0 in my Discord. You guys in there can attest to that, so not too far off. And, that's once they were down like 19-0. But I could just tell it was going to be one of those games. But, yeah, I actually think, again, this can be really, really good because, again, for me, the leg 3 losses or losing a bunch, especially when some of them are leg 1s, to me, we got 3 cracks at it. So I never really get too annoyed over any particular daily outcome, and it's never continued really for a long enough period for it to matter. The numbers have always bared out in the end, and you guys will see that if you're new to the channel, which is always cool. Now, Jets Bills, like I said, I do like the Jets even more now. It was a weird week. Every single under hit except 2, which I thought was interesting. Like I said, there's just so many things to go over. I'm probably forgetting a lot of things too, but there was just a lot that I noticed this week that was just really, really off. And Hutch actually pointed that out too. Hutch basically said, I'm just taking every team on the under because teams typically start off slow, which is true, and he's right, but it's never like this. You never get the under on every single game except I think it was 2. I think Packers, Bears, and Jags, Colts were the only games. I don't even think the Dolphins, Chargers, I think they were 51. Let me see. Oh, no, they had to go over because that's 70. Okay, so we got 3 that went over. And the Cowboys is looking like it's going to stay under. So, yeah, really interesting. Like I said, I do actually believe, I genuinely believe, they wouldn't put out a commercial just to troll a few of us. There's got to be millions of people that believe it's scripted, and I think that's a good chance that's why we got 49ers blowing the Steelers away. All these ones that it was obvious where the public money was. And then again, we have the 10 degrees of Deion. I mean, you that could be a coincidence, but if you had put a parlay on all the teams that Deion was on, all these teams I just went over, Jackson, all of them, Colorado, Niners, Reds, you're getting 100 to 1, probably more, probably like 200 to 1. It's insane because some of them were favorites, sure, but again, a lot of them were basically 50-50s, and I think a couple were underdogs. I'm not sure, but again, in baseball, a lot of them were basically the most. Even a big favorites, you're going to be looking at like -2 something. It's nothing crazy. So I just thought it was absolutely a great find by Phoenix, and I'm going to be looking into not just Deion, but the people connected with him. I'm not kidding. Right after this, I'm just going to be watching all of Deion's post-game, speeches. I'm going to watch his speeches his interviews. I'm going to watch him and Shannon and Skip. I'm going to watch him and Pat McAfee. I'm going to watch everything this man said because there's no way all of this is a coincidence. Deion's in the news, and his team, every team wins. His team's undefeated, and again, it's like this narrative is reigning supreme over anything, even paying the public. So I'm curious your guys' opinion. Like I said, I think this makes the Jets better odds in to beat the Bills just because the Giants lost. I know it sounds goofy, but it happens so often where it'll be a dead split. And the good thing is people on my Discord and on the channel, all of you guys, very honest. So if I put out a pick and you're like, you know what, I think you're wrong, if like Phoenix did, like Double P does, Hutch, everybody, you guys will tell me. And nobody in my Discord has really said, nah, I think the Bills are going to take this one, or no, the Jets aren't going to win. So that makes me feel good. I feel like when a lot of us are aligned, we just have a better, actually I can say from experience, when there's especially select people that I've specifically spoken to where we're aligned, we hit at a much higher rate than just 50-50. We hit way more often than we miss, and I don't think it's a coincidence. So yeah, the good thing is, like I said, the Deion thing I'm going to be looking into, and I expect to find some answers because I'm convinced, anybody that's ever touched this man's hand is going to hit the lottery or something. Like I said, I went back as far as I could, as far as his coaching record and who he played with, once I saw that ridiculous statistic. So yeah, if you know anything about Deion that I don't, please let me know in the comments. That'd be the greatest gift you could give me. And again, thank you to everyone. It's tough to have bad days, but I know it's nice to know that you guys understand my system, understand that I made it. So, I'm not going to be here to brag and say, oh, I'm 70%. That's just not going to happen. There's times we hit really well. There's, the weeks last year where we'd go 11-3. But then there's weeks we wouldn't. We'd go 4-10, 5-9 or 5-11. And like I said, this was a rough week to start. We started off nice. We had the Lions, obviously, but it really fell off the cliff. But like I said, that's the whole reason I made the system. And I just implore anyone following, just resist the urge to say, you know what, I don't care. I'm doing Jet leg 4, or I'm going to try and get it back, because now you're 15 units behind. There's a reason I stopped. I did do a couple leg 4s last year, and we finished in the profit despite losing a couple of them. And they're just not fun to lose, to have to come back from. So there's a reason I cut it off after 3. It's just the best value. It's better than 2, and it's better than 4. I've noticed it. I guess they say the best things come in 3s, or everything comes in 3s. To me, 3 is the perfect time to cut it off, and especially because we have chances at plus money odds. This week we didn't have a ton because almost every spread was between 2 and 4 points. It was the first time I've seen that too. So in my opinion, just a lot of new precedents being set. I'm curious to see how it carries over into week 2. I'm curious to see how it carries over into tomorrow night's game, because, like I said, this was a very interesting week 1, and just an interesting week in general. But yeah, let me know what you think of the Deion thing. Let me know what you think of, if you think the Jets are still a good play, if you think the Bills are for some reason. Like I said, almost everything that I can see symbolically seems to tie in better with the Jets. Djokovic just won. The one thing I said is I think some of these guys that were punished because they didn't take the vaccine and they didn't do what they were told, they might get some leverage now if some things have changed. So Djokovic, obviously it wasn't a problem for him. He won with Moderna right on the freaking wall to his left, the big Moderna sign. He won. So I thought that was kind of fitting. So yeah, and it's in New York where they hate him and some of the heaviest mandates. So if he's not getting punished, I don't think Rodgers will. I think Rodgers might be getting rewarded. And Kyrie's another one I've been talking about. So yeah, again, thank you all, everyone that shows support and love and insight. Thanks to Phoenix, because, like I said, he was the one who noticed that. I never would have noticed because I didn't even think to check baseball today. And I only FOMO'd into the Giants because I saw his post, and I'm like, this is absolutely insane. So he can't be the only player that they do this with. So I remember last basketball season, on Michael Jordan Day, I was like, oh man, let's go with the Bulls and the Wizards, and that didn't even work out. So it's not that cut and dry, but there's definitely something to it where there's connections, and they talk about coaching trees and all these different things. There's deep trees, like bloodlines, that go well behind the scenes. And I think this is the best proof that we're ever going to find that not only is it rigged and scripted and predetermined, but it's not just one sport. It crosses into many other sports. And obviously, these same teams are not going to win every week going forward. That would be ridiculous. But I do think there's going to be commonalities. So I'm off to watch Deion. Hopefully I get some cryptic or even maybe just some straight up alpha. It would be nice. But yeah, just let me know what you think of the Jets. Let me know what you think of Deion. If you noticed that too, good job. I did not. It was brought to my attention. And it's something nobody else brought it to my attention. So I'm pretty sure Phoenix was really over the target there. So good job. And I'm hoping to use that going forward to just really optimize some games where if Deion's fingerprints are on it, we can really just go with the team that has Deion's blessing. Or, like I said, that's why I'm going to listen. I haven't watched any of his speeches, so I'm very curious to see what he says. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings.